Let me check my box that says I agree to be recorded. All right, well, having said that, a virtual meeting of the MAG Regional Council is now called to order. Please remember to unmute your device before speaking and mute when you are not speaking to create a positive experience for all attendees. Phone participants should use *6 to mute and unmute and *9 to raise their hands. Our first agenda item is first, before we do that, thank you. Let's do the roll call to confirm that who's here and that we have a quorum. Linda, would you please take the roll?
Thank you, Chair. When I call your name, please indicate you are present for the record. Mayor Barney. I'm sorry, Mayor Barney.
I'm present.
Thank you, Mayor Bien Wilner. President Burnett.
Here.
Thank you, Mayor Carlott.
I'm here.
Thank you, Jen Daniels. Mayor Dickey.
Here.
Thank you, Mayor Gallego.
Here.
Thank you, Supervisor Goodman. Mayor Hall.
I'm here.
Thank you, Mayor Harkey.
Present.
Thank you, President Javier. Mayor Ermasalo. Supervisor Hickman. Mayor Lavalde.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Governor Lewis. Mayor Lord.
Present.
Thank you. Jackie Mack.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Molina. Mayor Osborne.
I'm present.
Thank you. Mayor Ortega.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Pereira.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Bridget Peterson.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Les Peterson.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Price.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Riggs. Mayor Rodriguez.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Show.
Present.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Smith.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Walter. Mayor Wires. Mayor Weiss.
Good morning, and I'm here.
Thank you. Mayor Wilson.
I'm here.
Thank you. Mayor Woods. Chair Giles.
Present.
Thank you. Is there anyone I have missed?
Jen Daniels is here. Sorry, I missed the roll call.
Thank you. Chair, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Linda. The first item on our agenda is the call to the audience. Members of the public were asked to submit written comments related to this meeting through the MAG website. Comments may be sent at any time leading up to the meeting, but must be received at least 1 hour prior to the posted start time for the meeting. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or that fall on or that are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. MAG staff, have we received any public comments?
Chair, no public comments have been received for this item or any other item on the agenda.
All right, thank you very much, Linda. Item 3 then on our agenda is the Executive Director's report. MAG Executive Director Eric Anderson will give his report. Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If we can go to the next slide. So last month at your August meeting, you approved a resolution for Second Responder Day. And we followed that up with a very successful social media campaign. And also on our website, we set up a page so people could express their appreciation for second responders, primarily the healthcare workers who have, for the last year and a half, have been battling COVID-19. So we're going to go through a couple more slides. We can go to the next slide. Just some examples of some of the comments that we received out on our website. So go to the next slide. And I think there's, go ahead and go to the next one.
Eric, this is Craig. We are experiencing about a 10-second delay on the slide transitions.
I see that. Thank you, Craig.
No problem at all.
So the next topic I have, National Cleanup Day was September 18th. This coincides with a partnership that we developed with Cobblestone Auto Spa to promote clean cars, clean roads. They agreed to distribute 250,000 limited edition co-branded travel trash bags at 32 locations in Maricopa County. Once again, reminding people in the vehicles to keep their trash in the car. So those who post photo of the travel trash bag and tag "No Love for Litter" have a chance to receive free full service car wash. So put that on your agenda. Go to the next slide. So one of the campaigns that we launched a few months ago was the See Me Arizona campaign. It's a multifaceted campaign designed to improve safety conditions for pedestrians and bicyclists. And in fact, October is National Pedestrian Safety Month in the United States. So very timely. We're announcing that the See Me Arizona is going to enter a new enforcement phase. The last time this was done, you'll see the third bullet down there. 4 cities recorded more than 1,500 contacts and over 1,100 citations were issued. Arizona and the MAG region have a fairly significant pedestrian injury and death issue, and we have to do better. And this campaign emphasizes not only education, but also enforcement. So, and it's, I think it's going to be very effective. We hope that we'll see a decline in some of the injury and death numbers as a result of this campaign. So, Mr. Chairman, that completes my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Eric. And for members of the council, if you do have any questions regarding anything on Eric's report, please contact him after the meeting with those questions. Our next item is the approval of the consent agenda. Items 4A through 4G are on the consent agenda. Does any member of the Regional Council have questions or request a presentation on any of these items? If there is none, could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Scarlett, I make a motion.
Second, Mayor Harkey.
Thank you. I think we had a few people talking at the same time. We're going to say Mayor Les Peterson made the motion and Mayor Kathy Carlott seconded the motion. So thank you very much. Melissa, Linda, would you please take the roll call?
Thank you, Chair. When I call your name, please indicate how you vote. Mayor Barney,
Aye.
President Burnett,
Aye.
Mayor Carlott,
Aye.
Jen Daniels,
Aye.
Mayor Dickey,
Aye.
Mayor Gallego,
Aye.
Mayor Hall,
Aye.
Mayor Harkey,
Yes.
Mayor Lavalde,
Yes.
Mayor Lord,
Aye.
thank you, Jackie Mack.
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor Orsborn.
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor Ortega.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Pereira.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Bridget Peterson.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Les Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Price,
Yes.
Mayor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mayor Schoaf,
Yes.
thank you, Vice Mayor Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Weiss,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
and Chair Giles. How do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anyone I've missed? The motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. Item 5 on our agenda is a recognition of October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. MAG Human Services Director Kelly Williams will introduce this item. Kelly?
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. This morning, Council Member Anita Norton from El Mirage will actually will welcome this item and will introduce it for you all. Councilwoman Norton. I'm not sure if she was able to join us this morning, so I'll go ahead and move forward.
Kelly, I'm sorry, it's Amy. It looks like Councilmember Norton is on mute. Councilmember, if you'd like to unmute yourself, then we'll be able to hear you better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember, looked like you just unmuted it. Maybe if you go back and there you go. It's unmuted now.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
You're welcome.
New computer, new technology. Thank you. I'd like to thank you all for inviting me and Director Kelly to speak and let you know what we're doing regarding domestic violence for the month of October, which is Domestic Violence Awareness. I've served as a council member in the city of El Mirage since 2017, and I'm speaking today as the chair of the MAG Regional Domestic Violence Council. In the month of October, we all observe Domestic Violence Awareness Month. While abuse affects people of all ages, this year's press event highlights violence against older adults and what we can all do to help prevent this and keep our most vulnerable safe. There are more than 5 million older adults in America who experience some form of abuse annually. This affects my community and yours, and is why I'm here today. As elected officials, we are in a unique position to raise awareness about domestic violence among our residents. We appreciate your partnership. To tell us more about the events planned in October, I'd like to ask our new Director of Human Services, Kelly Williams, to please tell us more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Norton. I appreciate the introduction and your dedication to this work. Chair and members of the committee, we are asking today that you approve October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This resolution of support. As you know, domestic violence awareness is one of the priorities of the MAG Human Services Division. This year, we are dedicating our efforts to addressing and bringing awareness to older adults who are experiencing domestic violence. And this goes right in hand with our work on the Vulnerable Adult Protocol. We are also gathering events that are taking place in the month of October, including the lighting of buildings purple, as many of you all do, including the fountain in Fountain Hills and the State Capitol Dome, to promote in an online calendar of domestic violence events. We are also hosting a press conference next Tuesday at the Capitol at the Domestic Violence Memorial Bench, where we will, again, we will hear from our chair, Mayor Giles, along with several others, including a survivor of domestic violence who is going to be sharing her story. We would welcome you to join in via the MAG Facebook page to participate in that event next Tuesday at 10 a.m. and to continue to show your support of domestic violence awareness. We sincerely appreciate all of you who wore purple today in support of this, and we will be taking a screenshot of the group toward the end of the meeting. With that, Chair, I hand back this request to approve this resolution in support of October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Councilmember Norton. Are there any questions or comments from the membership on this item?
Mayor Giles, it's Mayor Weiss.
Yes, Mr. Weiss. Please go ahead.
So I appreciate this item. I think that, obviously what we've been hearing in the news lately, coming out of Wyoming and coming out of Florida is just while it's a national story, it is indicative of what is happening across the country. And a lot of times those cases don't get the public attention that this one does, but there are thousands of people across the country who are suffering from domestic abuse. And I appreciate the fact that MAG is taking a stance on this.
Thank you, Mayor Weiss.
Mayor Giles,
Yes, Mayor Ortega.
I move for approval of the resolution in support of October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
I'll second.
Thank you. I think we had Mayor Wilson from Apache Junction as the second. Did you do that, Chip? Okay, thank you.
I see the Mayor Wilson.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Harkey. You're always a good sport. It was good to see you this morning. Council members, any additional questions or discussion regarding this before we vote on it? All right, thank you. Then we have a motion from Mayor Ortega, seconded by Mayor Wilson. If there's no further discussion, Linda, will you take the roll call, please?
Thank you, Chair. When I call your name, please indicate how you vote. Mayor Barney.
Aye.
Thank you, President Burnett.
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor Carlott.
Aye.
Thank you, Jen Daniels.
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor Dickey.
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor Gallego.
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor Hall.
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor Harkey.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor LaVault.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Lord.
Yes.
Thank you, Jackie Mack.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Osborne.
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor Ortega.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Piera.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Bridget Peterson.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Les Peterson.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Price.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Rodriguez.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Schoaf.
Yes.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Weiss.
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you, and Chair, how do you vote?
Vote aye.
Thank you. Is there anyone I've missed?
Yes, Mayor Walter.
My apologies. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, hi, Mayor Woods from Tempe. I vote aye.
Thank you, Mayor Woods. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you
Okay.
all.
Thank
Thank
you. And that has been, as has Kelly mentioned, we're going to, typically we all assemble, for a photograph when we meet live, sporting our cute purple outfits. Today, I'm afraid we're going to have to make do with a screenshot. So everyone who would like to be a part of that screenshot demonstrating support, there you go. Mayor Ortega is being loud and proud in his purple shirt. Looks good, Dave. Everybody who wants to be included in the screenshot, please turn your camera on, and we will go ahead and take that shot now.
Craig, this is Kelly Taft. Is there any way that we can put all of the speakers a full screen? Because I can only see.
Hi, Kelly. I'm doing a screenshot right now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
It might not look like a big screen on our end, but I think MAG staff is able to do it.
The key is to stay still for 2 seconds.
Yeah, I have 21 video screens up right now, Kelly. And I do have that screenshot.
20 seconds seems like a long time.
Okay. All right. So MAG staff, are we ready? Is that accomplished and we're ready to proceed?
Yes, we are.
All right. Thank you very much. Item 6 on our agenda is the draft regional transportation plan, also known as Momentum 2050, and the draft fiscal year 2022 through 2025 transportation improvement program. MAG transportation staff Audra Kester Thomas will give this report. Audra.
Thank you, Chairman Giles. Members of Regional Council, pleased to be with you today to give you an update on the latest activities associated with the development for a new regional transportation plan, as well as the intersection of that work with the development of our transportation improvement program and conformity analysis. Can we advance the slide a couple, please? Today's presentation is going to focus, just for the benefit of our audience, on a little bit of the work that we have done and accomplished over the last several months and years. And then I'll talk more specifically about the intersection of these federally required documents in light of the work that we accomplished this summer. Next slide. So first, momentum. Next slide. As you are all aware, we have proceeded and completed our performance-based evaluation process that is required by both federal and state statute. Next slide. And ultimately use this work to go through an iterative planning process illustrated here for the benefit of our audience. We developed 4 alternative scenarios for consideration, receiving public and stakeholder feedback through May, and then ultimately the Transportation Policy Committee giving direction, then ultimately unanimously recommending, Regional Council unanimously endorsing a 25-year half-cent alternative that is now in the final stages of our air quality conformity analysis. Next slide. Next slide. As you are all aware, in this investment plan for the years 2026 through 2050, we have available to the region approximately $36.7 billion. Approximately half of that comes from the dedicated sales tax within Maricopa County. Next slide. Included in this investment portfolio is several hundred discrete capital projects spanning modes. You'll see here illustrated those projects largely focused on our completion of the freeway system and HOV network, expansion of our high capacity transit network, including additions of new modes, notably bus rapid transit, and of course, several important arterial investments throughout the region. Next slide. We don't want to lose sight, however, of a part of this plan that's going to keep us nimble into our future, able to be responsive and certainly reflective of the direction we have received from our policymakers. And that's an expansion of our programmatic approach, largely established here through MAG over the course of the last several decades, but additional funding to establish a few new programs and expand some popular and important programs. You'll see them listed here, anything from active transportation, this pedestrian and bicycle investments that we have received tremendous amount of public feedback and support for, continuation of our air quality measures to ensure that we're on target in non-attainment areas, expansion of some arterial programs that recognize the different development stages this region is in, obviously continuing to complete our contiguous regional grid system, but also recognizing we have opportunities to reimagine and really reconstruct some of those facilities as well. Continued expansion of our bus transit investment, recognizing this is a regionally branded but largely locally funded transit network in this region. Establishment of emerging technologies program that we could set aside funding for those technologies we know will emerge but aren't necessarily sure of today, ensuring this region is smart into the future. Continuation of established ITS and safety programs, expansions of funding within both of those, and the establishment of regional transportation demand management program that allows us to squeeze more operational value out of capital investments that ultimately preserve our funding and allow more choices and options for people to get from here to there, as well as construction mitigation strategies. Next slide. We have been updating our website. Our momentumplan.com includes all of this latest information. We will continue to populate it with more educational resources as we move from plan construction and now into information and education mode into next year. Next slide. Our focus now turns to the final elements of our plan development process, and that includes the intersection of some federally required documents. Next slide. While our focus the last year or two has been on the extension of Proposition 400 and the investment plan that associates with it, we are required to develop two fundamental plans associated with being a metropolitan planning organization. That's our regional transportation plan, which serves as a long-range vision of how planned investments across modes will be deployed over the course of at least a horizon of 20 years. An RTP focuses on regionally significant investments, those big capital investments, and how we plan to deploy and preserve federal investments already made. Our transportation improvement program has a shorter horizon. It looks at the 4 years ahead and is a specific and discrete project list, inclusive of all regionally significant projects across all funding sources, including those that are wholly locally or privately funded. By definition for MAG, it also serves as the first 4 years of our regional transportation plan. Both an RTP and a TIP must be performance-based, be fiscally constrained, updated at least every 4 years, although as practice, MAG typically updates these documents every 2 years, reflects all funding sources, including the last 5 years of Proposition 400, the proposed projects included in the extension of Proposition 400 and our momentum work recently completed, but also projects within our planning area funded through the Pinell County RTA and any wholly locally funded projects, inclusive of those notable to projects like or programs like T2050. All of these documents and the projects contained herein also must be air quality conformant. Next slide. You'll see here an illustration of the intersection between the work that we have been focused on and these two important planning documents. You'll see how they overlap, both in terms of the time frame as well as across the two distinct programs for which we often focus at MAG. Next slide. Our next steps include completing this air quality conformity process, but also turning to bigger endeavors. Next slide. As you'll see here, we're near the end of the air quality conformity process. This item is on your agenda for information only to notify you of that final 30-day public comment period that we are currently in. It initiated September 13th and will complete in October, and we'll be bringing these documents ultimately through for adoption by the end of the year. Next slide. More specifically, the elements associated with the air quality conformity analysis is public review of these three distinct documents. You'll see pictured here and linked within the transmittal summary distributed today is the draft regional transportation plan to a horizon year of 2050, the draft transportation improvement program over the next 4 fiscal years, and the conformity analysis covering both documents. We'll be then compiling any public feedback received, documenting that for your consideration and review prior to bringing these through for our policy committee process covering the months of November and December, first with management committee and then transportation policy committee in November, and then ultimately on December 1st to regional council, where we hope this will be a celebratory event, notably as we head into enabling legislation. We would then expect early in the new year, as soon as January 2022, to receive a finding of air quality conformity from the Federal Highway Administration and Federal Transit Administration. Next slide. As I mentioned, our focus now has squarely turned to enabling legislation. As you'll recall, we do need to go and seek our partnership with the Arizona legislature to enable Maricopa County to go back out to our constituency for an extension of the dedicated sales tax first established in Maricopa County back in 1985. Working with our member agencies and you, we're anticipating that success early in the legislative session to enable placement on the ballot next November 2022. Next slide. With that, Chairman Giles, I believe this completes my presentation. Again, this was only on your agenda today for information and any discussion. Eric and I stand ready to answer any questions.
Thank you. Great report, Audra. Are there any questions from the membership on this item?
Mayor Giles, Ken Weiss.
Yes, Mayor Weiss.
Yeah, Audra, one of the first things you touched on was the education part of this and the flexibility. And as I talk to people, and granted, it's not been a lot of people, but it's been probably a dozen. When they ask about this, the question always comes up about emerging technologies. And I want to make sure that people understand the flexibility that's put into this plan for emerging technologies. And I think we hear that also from our partners in the legislature. I just want to make sure that message gets out to everyone.
Absolutely, we couldn't agree more.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Weiss. Other questions or comments on this item? All right, thank you. As Audra mentioned, this item was on the agenda for information and discussion, but we'll look forward to, this will be an ongoing discussion, obviously, at every MAG meeting in perpetuity. But we look forward to again, thank you to staff for the great work that has been accomplished to get us to this point. Item 7 is on our agenda is the Census 2020 data and analysis update. MAG Regional Analytics staff Scott Wilkin will provide a report. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of Regional Council. Let's go to the next slide. I'm going to give you an update on Census 2020 data release. As you've probably seen in the news recently over the past year and a half, Census 2020 was kind of an unusual census, and it was the release of the initial data was delayed. The first release came out about a month ago on August 12th in a legacy format that is a very user-unfriendly format. And our staff was able to download it and decipher it and create a number of publications that we put on our website within 24 hours of the release. And you can find all of that stuff at azmag.gov/census. Since that time, about a week ago, the Census Bureau has released a user-friendly format that you may be more familiar with, but it's all the exact same data. We've checked it against what we got in August, and so it's all the same stuff. Let's go to the next slide. If you go to azmag.gov/census, you'll see a number of tables with the high-level data that's been released, number of maps, including in the top right of that column, a simple interactive map viewer. If you've seen our map viewers in the past, you know that we've got a lot of data on there and some functionality that you can do some custom reports. We're planning on adding the 2020 data to those map viewers, existing map viewers, but we wanted to get a quick one out so that people could visualize the data for themselves right away. So that's available at azmag.gov/census. Next slide, please. A few highlights that we saw in the 2020 data. Phoenix is now the 5th largest city in the country officially. We've passed Philadelphia for that honor, and is the fastest growing city among the 10 most populous cities in the nation at 11.2% over the past 10 years. It's also the largest city in Maricopa County. Hopefully that's not news to anybody. Makes up 36% of the population of the county and almost 27% of the population growth over the past 10 years. Phoenix's vacancy rate at 7.6%, significantly below the regional average of 9.3%, despite making up such a large percentage of the county. In other news, the Census Bureau, and maybe it's not news to everybody, but Buckeye was announced as the fastest growing city in the country. They grew faster than any other city that had a population of 50,000 or more 10 years ago. And they've been telling us for a while that they were growing faster than anybody else, and the Census Bureau has officially blessed that designation. In other things we saw, non-Hispanic, other race, or 2 or more races in the race and ethnicity category grew by 142%. And we know that some of that is true growth. There were some changes to self-identification with this census, and so the Census Bureau is cautioning to look at that carefully before you make any wide proclamations or decisions based on that. Next slide, please. We also saw that Maricopa County added more residents than any other county in the nation, and 86% of the population growth in the state was in the Phoenix MSA, which is Maricopa County and Pinal County combined. We also saw something we were surprised with, that 5 counties in Arizona lost population since 2010. So we're looking into why that might have been. You can see on the screen some other highlights with Maricopa County compared to the state and the nation as a whole, with population, age 18 plus, and minority population. One thing that I want to note that in this data release, the age categories we only received 2 age categories so far, 0 to 17 and 18 plus. This is because this is data that's to be used for redistricting. And so at this time, they've only released those 2 age categories, but over the next few months, we expect to get all kinds of additional age categories and additional data as well. Next slide, please. On the screen right now, we have a map of the counties across the state and the race and ethnicity data from 2020. The percentages on the map are of minority population. That is basically everybody except for white non-Hispanic. The United States currently is 58% white non-Hispanic. Arizona is lower than that at 53%. Maricopa County matches that at 53%. But we wanted to note that 33 cities and towns across Arizona are now minority majority, with 50% or higher minority population, including Phoenix, Tucson, Glendale, and Yuma. We also have 5 counties across the state that have passed that threshold as well. Next slide. In our initial review, next slide, please. We started looking at the data and comparing it to Census Bureau estimates that come out every year and the MAG's estimates that we do in conjunction with the State Demographer's Office. The middle columns, you can see that the Census Bureau estimates were about 3 to 4% off for the state of Arizona and Maricopa County, and 13% off for Pinal County, where the MAG estimates, we're really proud. We were a lot better. The state demographer came within 2% of correctly predicting the state. And the county estimates for Maricopa County is less than 0.5% off. Pinal County is still a little bit high at 10%. And we're looking into causes for that. Next slide, please. We also have on the screen something that we've looked at to compare housing unit counts. This theoretically should be a lot closer than the population counts and the population estimates, because we receive great information from your cities and towns on residential completions and building permits. So we're not sure exactly where some of the discrepancies came in. But on the screen right now, we're looking at Maricopa County and the Yavapai County portions. The green lines are the ones where the Census 2020 had more housing units than our estimates. And then the reds are where our estimates were higher than the census counts. Overall, for Maricopa County and Yavapai County, kind of a mixed bag, some high, some low. But again, we're looking at that. But on the next slide, we're going to see Pinal County, and we're going to see that that we're high on a lot of those. So next slide. So we did great with Hayden and Marana, but for most of the rest of Pinal County, our counts were high. And so we're going to be working with our friends in Pinal County and the county itself to find out if we're missing data. Is the Census Bureau, are they missing data? What exactly is going on? And that's something we're going to be investigating over the next weeks and months. Next slide, please. We saw the estimates comparison and the housing unit comparison. Like I said, we're going to be doing a lot of investigation to see where those differences came in, comparing housing unit data from the assessor's office to Census 2020. And we're also going to be looking at the housing unit counts to develop some initial data for the count question resolution process. This is a program that the Census Bureau does after a decennial census to allow local jurisdictions to point out errors in allotment of housing units. If you think that you've got more housing units or fewer housing units in a block than you should, and you can prove that using mainly aerial photos, but other work, they allow you to submit that. My understanding is that they don't generally approve very many changes. I think staff from Chandler told me that 10 years ago they submitted, I think, over 9,000 potentially misplaced housing units, and the Census Bureau approved 68 of them. Not 6,800, but 68 of them. So it changes your count a little bit, but they generally stick with what they have already. We don't have any details yet on the CQR process, but that should be coming in the near future. And I just got word that at the state demographer's annual data conference next month, there will be some initial details about that program. And it sounds like it's changed from 10 years ago, but again, we don't have anything on that yet. Additionally, some upcoming work, we're going to finalize revised fiscal year estimates in coordination with state demographer, and we're going to do a lot more analysis on occupancy rates and housing size. These are two things that are critical for our projections, our long range projections work over the next 10 years. The best source for household size and occupancy rates traditionally has been the decennial census. And so we want to look at those really carefully and make sure that we understand that and understand where some problems might be as we move forward with our model. Next slide, please. So again, at azmag.gov/census, if you want to see the data that we've put out so far. If you have other questions, please feel free to reach out to me and we can talk offline, or I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have right now.
All right, thank you very much, Scott. Again, this item is on our agenda for information and discussion only, but it is quite interesting, isn't it? Mr. Mayor Ortega.
Yes, I wanted to express a concern in one area. You may know I testified at the legislature about the impact of short-term rentals and whether or not they were registering with the city. But this now relates with some of the data we're seeing in our census. It is our belief that there are between 5,500 and 6,000 short-term rentals in Scottsdale. And we were even pushing for a cap at one point, trying to negotiate a 3% cap. We're at about 3.8 of our rooftops. And that is a startling concern because when the census takers come knocking, and the only people that are answering may be someone there for the weekend, right? They're not the owner, they're not the long-term renter. So we ended up with, in our estimation, about 18,000 short, maybe 15, at least 15,000 short in population count. That starts to affect, of course, revenue share, state, federal, et cetera. And it is a concern to us. I'd hope that our neighboring cities will share and participate with our attempts and other attempts, of course, and legislators to at least put a cap on or some other way to get local control. We felt, again, the old conventional ways of counting rooftops. Of course, we did have close to 1,000 new builds that are shown, but again, those rooftops and the previous assumptions of construction resulting in families used to calculate school occupancies, number of kids per whatever acre, square mile, and all that has been distorted by the short-term rentals. So I just want to bring that out as a subject that we're monitoring and certainly want to have some legislative relief for local control. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
If I can respond to that quickly.
Yes, please.
Mr. Mayor, we are looking at that as well. In order to keep the presentation a little bit shorter, we additionally had some information on short-term rentals, but I cut that out. And I apologize, I don't have that on me, but your estimation sounds about right from what I remember. We have some data on that. The difficulty is it's hard to do correlation. We can or causation, I should say. We can do some correlation to say here are some areas where there are a lot more short-term rentals, and here's areas where there's a lot higher vacancy rate. But we've started looking at that, and we're going to keep investigating to see what we can find, because that is a great point. And
well, let me add to that, Scott, because we do have hard numbers, right? Because when we're short 15,000 people, it's going to equate to about $3 million a year forever, right? So it is it is possible, of course, that in the cycle of sales, perhaps things would turn so that some of those short-term rentals are let go, but where they become permanent, families and an account. So it does have a direct impact from what we expected and what we know our population is, right? As well as our daytime surge of visitors. Thank you very much, and we'll follow that. I really appreciate it. I know there's in-depth to drill down on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ortega and Scott. Council.
Giles?
Yes, Mayor Carlett.
Kathy Carlett. Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to make a comment.
Please go ahead.
That those numbers, Scott, that you might have from all of your data, by the time you get those numbers completed, if you could share them before the next legislative session begins, it would really help us as we begin the conversations with our legislators again about local control and about short-term rentals and the actual effects that they are having on our cities and towns. So that information will be really, really helpful to us.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Madam Mayor, yes, we're working with the with our member agencies here through PopTac and the InterGovs, but also with the League, because it's not just a MAG region thing. Sedona is probably having a harder time than anybody across the state. And so, yes, we're definitely going to provide information before the legislative session to help with that effort, just because that's so important to our members and cities and towns across the state and the League as well.
Good, thank you, we appreciate that.
Thank you, Mayor Carlett. Other questions or comments? All right, moving on then. Item 8 on our agenda is the legislative update. MAG Policy and Government Relations Director Nathan Pryor will give this report. Nathan.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Regional Council. We continue to follow developments with the infrastructure bill. So I'm going to focus on that today. However, this is getting impacted by conversations around the upcoming federal fiscal year budget and also the debt limit issue. So obviously the federal fiscal year starts on October 1. Budget discussions are ongoing. The House did pass a continuing resolution through December 3rd. However, that does include a debt limit increase provision through December 2022, which could be an issue when it's sent over back to the Senate. So there's some doubt there on the Senate side. This is all potentially heading to a federal government shutdown, so we're tracking that as well. But noting that the Highway Trust Fund is solvent through November with or without this budget bill. More specifically on the infrastructure bill, by way of reminder, we've been sharing those provisions for the last several months, proposed $3.5 trillion overall. There was a report this morning from ASU Seidman Institute showing Arizona could receive about $83.6 billion in that infrastructure bill. What's going on here, in addition to budget issues, is really the timing issues. So there's two perspectives among House Democrats. One is to not pass or move forward with the infrastructure bill before the federal budget is assured. And the other kind of perspective is to hold on and honor the original proposed schedule for the infrastructure bill, seeing some assurance by Monday, September 27. There is a meeting at the White House today to try to resolve vote timing on the infrastructure bill. So, Mr. Chairman, we'll keep tracking these issues, and that completes my report.
Thank you, Nathan. Council, any questions for Nathan on the legislative update? All right, thank you again. That was on the agenda for information and discussion only. Next item on our agenda, item 9, is requests by a regional council member for an item on a future agenda. Do we have any requests? Okay, thank you. Item 10 is, are there any comments or announcements from the membership? All right, well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes our business for today, and this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you.